As we kick it off now, I just want to encourage you that as much effort as you can put into this today, it's going to be worth your time. You might not have like a really clear sort of set of guidelines or goals for yourself for the new year. You might not have a great sort of grasp on what you need to do for the new year. And if you're going to want to know what to do for the new year, all of that starts with knowing where you are now and what you want to do for the new year. So I'm sure part of what Bryan's going to do with us today is goal setting. And I don't know if you've ever done a goal setting exercise at the end of a year for the new year. It is so powerful. And then the other thing which Bryan did ask each of us to do before the webinar started today was to do a little bit of homework. So if today is going to be about knowing what you want to achieve for the new year and then how to go about achieving that, part of that is knowing exactly where you are now. Because if you want to get from where you are now to where you want to go, you've got to be clear on both of those before we can actually chart a strategic course to get you there. All of that plays into a business planning clinic. So it's really exciting. If you've done your homework, which I trust you have, Bryan asked you to do, first of all, a list of your 2024 production numbers. So how many sales did you make this year? What was your average selling price? What was your average commission that you charged? And then what was the split between buyers and sellers? And in South Africa, Bryan, it's also very common to do both sides of a transaction because we don't have an MLS system. So those were part of the numbers. The second thing he wanted you to do was just list out what your sphere of influence looks like. And in our case, we call that your database. And if you've been doing what I've been teaching you in our referral system, you should have a list of 100 to 300 advocates. These are people that you're keeping in touch with personally and building a relationship with. And then behind that, you should have a B list, as big a B list as possible. And those people get your monthly newsletter. So do you have a B list? Do you have a tighter sphere of influence like your advocates? That's what Bryan asked you to just note down. And then the third thing was your lead sources. This, to me, is such an interesting exercise. All the leads that you got in 2024, have you categorized them into where you got those leads? So yeah, okay, on the seller side, I got 40% were referral, another 20% were repeat business. I got 10% from show houses or what Bryan would call an open house, et cetera, et cetera. And then you do the same on the buyer side. So that's the homework. That's where I am now. We're going to set some goals for where you want to be and then look at a strategic plan for how to get there. That then just leaves me, before I hand over to Bryan, to introduce Bryan to you. We are incredibly fortunate to have Bryan with us today. Bryan is currently the Chief Learning Officer of eXp Realty Worldwide. They specifically headhunted Bryan. I think it was Leo Pereira that did that. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Bryan. But Bryan was with Century 21. He was the head of Century 21's training. So he was also the Chief Operating Officer for Century 21 in the US. Before that, he was with Keller Williams. I believe that he was also the Chief Operating Officer of Keller Williams. And then he was with Anywhere before that. So Anywhere are the largest listed real estate conglomerate in the world. They own Century 21, they own Sotheby's, they own ERA, and then a couple of the big US brands like Corcoran, Better Home and Garden. And Bryan created all of their training and coaching resources. So I'm not exaggerating when I say to you, Bryan is probably the #1 corporate training guy in the world. I said to Bryan, I was fortunate to meet him through some of the stuff I've done with eXp in the US. And I said to him, Bryan, please could you refer me to someone who could do a business planning clinic with my team? And Bryan said to me, hey, I've been looking for an excuse to record a business planning session for the whole of eXp for 2025. Why don't we do it with your team? And I'll do it personally. And I didn't need any more invitation than that. So Bryan, we are very, very grateful to you for joining us today. We're so excited about the session today. And with that, I will hand over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Stephen. I feel like I should just quit now while I'm ahead with that intro, because I'm not going to get any better than that intro. So thank you so very much for that. That was very lovely. Well, good morning, or I should say good afternoon to you all. And thanks for letting me come play with you. I'm Bryon Ellington, as Stephen said. Chief Learning Officer for EXP, and I want to welcome all of our EXP agents there in beautiful South Africa, a country I love and have spent some time in. And for all of you who are not yet with EXP, you're also welcome. We open up our training regularly to you all so that you get a chance to benefit from the amazing experiences we have within EXP, some top agents. So right off the bat, as we get started, I'm going to ask you a weird question. When you think about your business as it stands today, how much is your business designed to produce today? Your business as it stands, how much is it designed to produce? It's a strange question, right? It's good. So yes, as Steven shared, I live here in Austin, Texas. I have one beautiful wife, 4 beautiful children. I've been at many different companies in my real estate journey, and I'm so very happy to be at EXP with my old friends, Glenn, who I've known for over 20 years, and Leo, who I've probably known just as long, and helping all of our EXP agents build their business. Like Steve said, with all the companies that I've been part of and helped with training and coaching, I don't even know what the exact number is. It's probably somewhere between 500,000 to 1 million realtors and agent team leaders that I've had the pleasure of creating training and coaching for. And from all those experiences, I'll tell you 2 things relevant to today that are just 2 important facts for us all to understand, accept, and make sure it's part of our practice. Number 1 is you're a business owner. You're a business owner, period. In the United States, we are all independent contractors. I don't know in South Africa the independent contractor laws. Regardless, your practice, your firm, your real estate business, you are the head of it. And here's the second fact. As business owners who succeed and continue to have success over time do so by working a business plan. And whether you're new to real estate or you're just looking to level up your business, today we're gonna use a very functional, very pragmatic form of a business plan to help you get straight in your mind what it is that you have to do in 2025 to exceed your goals, whatever those might be for you. I can't define success for you. My definition of success wouldn't be relevant to you. So today, we're going to walk through some exercises to help us figure out what is our definition of success. And then what do we do to construct our plan to make sure that we achieve that next year? And it's a lot simpler than you might think. This isn't a complex business, fortunately, right? We're not doing brain surgery or rocket science. We are helping families and individuals buy homes to build their dreams, which is cool and a lot of fun and a pretty simplistic business. It's just there's a whole lot of us that complicate the world out of this business. So hopefully by the end of today, we'll get you to where you need to be to understand exactly what you need to go do. Now, before we answer that weird question that I just asked you, just really quickly, making sure that I don't know all of South African laws around real estate. Hopefully you do, and if you don't, your brokers will. And so please make sure you follow those. We're going to talk about calling and things of that nature during this call. In the States, we have a lot of legal lawyers and attorneys who are, all right. So enough about the legalese. Let's get into it. So here's that weird question I asked you earlier. You are here, and if you're on this call, it's probably because you want to get to here, whatever that means for you. Again, I can't define success for you, only you can. But here's the reason why I asked that question in the beginning. When you think about your business today, your lead generation systems, your lead conversion methodologies, your customer service, your transaction coordination, and your post-close, all of it is designed to do exactly what it did this past year. And if we want to get more out of our business, that means that we're going to have to change our business in some ways. And I think of it as add, edit, delete. Add, if you are doing 5 million in volume and you want to get to 10 million in volume, well, there's things that you're going to have to do as a $5 million producer to get to 10 that you've never done before. And there's things that you're doing at that $5 million mark that you're going to have to tweak. Maybe you're going to have to scale up your lead generation. Maybe you're going to have to invest in your business, whatever that means for you. And then delete. There are things that you're doing today, whatever level you're at, that are going to hold you back from doing the things that you need to be doing to get to the level that you want to do. Now, that could mean delegating tasks. It could mean creating systems around certain tasks, whatever that means for you. Stopping doing some of the things that you're doing today so that you can focus on the things that you need to be doing to get to where you go. Now, when we talk about this, today's session, as we go through this exercise, it can be one of two things for you. It could be either informational, just some great thoughts that you probably don't do anything with, or it can be transformational. And the biggest difference here is, am I going to take the time to go and make changes in my business? And how do I know that those changes that I make are going to be successful? Am I modeling them on what successful people do, etc.? Now, I hope you choose transformational so that our hour together is fruitful for you and gets you to where you want to go. So let's talk about how we're going to get there. Along the way, we're going to start by figuring out with some level of exactness why we want to sell however many homes we want to sell, whatever that is for you. Why do we want to do that? What's our motivation? From there, we can then understand what this all means in terms of activities, dialing our goals back to just bite-sized activities. So we know on a daily basis exactly what to go do. And if we do those things, they're going to lead to the outcome that we want. We're going to figure out that add, edit, delete together as we figure out the elements of our strategic plan. What changes are we going to go make in our business? And then we're going to talk about one of the most important things that all of us have, but only a limited amount of, and that is time. Time for our lives, time for our business, time to get it all done. And then finally, we'll get you into action with some great next steps that will help you take that plan and get going toward 2025 to conquer your goals. All right. First, why are you selling real estate? In the chat, let me hear it. Why are you selling real estate? Great. Best job ever. Create a pension. Need to earn income. Great. I love it. Thank you. All right. Yeah, so it's a funny question. I see some of you talk about the money. What's interesting when I see some of the answers about income, money, I'd actually say to you, that's not why you're doing it. That's not why you're doing it. It's what you can do with the money. It's what those rands will buy you in terms of time with your family or the things that you need, the investments you need to make in order to secure your family's future. Sending your kiddo to university, that's what you want the money for, right? And whatever that is for you, when we're talking about building a business plan, success isn't about your plan going perfectly. Success is not about your plan going perfectly, because if your plan hasn't taken into account all the things that it needs to take into account, you can accomplish your plan perfectly, and yet you still won't accomplish what you wanted to accomplish in life. So when we talk about making our business plan for the new year, the first thing we need to start with is, how do we define success? What does that truly mean for us? And here's a very simplistic way of thinking about it. When you think about all the things in your life that need to get done, what are those things? Loved ones. Do you need to go on vacation, on holiday with them somewhere? Or is there something about your kiddos going to school or something like that? Lifestyle. Do we need to get a new home, to move to a better neighborhood, to move to a better school system, whatever the case might be? Investing. Are we getting into real estate investing? Hopefully you are. You are in the market every day. And then personal and professional development. Do you need to hire a coach, or is there specialized training that you want to go to in order to get to where you want to go? Whatever that is, the more precise you can be about what you want out of your life, the more precise you'll be about the dollar amount attached to it, because all these things have a dollar amount, or a rand amount in your case, attached to them, right? Your personal expenses, if you don't know what your personal expenses are, most major banks will tell you. You can go in and get your last 12 months report of where you spent your money. Hopefully you have business accounts for yourselves separate from your personal accounts, because then you could go do that. By quick show in the chat, how many of you have separate business accounts from your personal accounts? Bank accounts I'm talking about here. Great. Great. If you've not read the book Profit First, I'm going to slaughter the author's name. It's Mike Michalowicz, I believe it's pronounced. Great book. He talks about how to set up different accounts for your businesses. Personally, I think you need at least three. And that is an income account where all of your commission goes. And then some sort of reserve account for your businesses, because we all have bad weeks in real estate, bad months in real estate. So having reserve on hand to float you through those tough months. And then finally, your expense account. Why is expense account different from your income account? So that you can closely monitor what expenses get paid out of there, especially as you grow larger in your business. If you have others helping you in your business to build it, you will want to have limited amounts of funds available to those people to pay your bills for you. Here's the thing. At the end of this little exercise, once you've thought through what does it take to fund my life and the things I want out of it, you're going to have a total amount of rand that you need out of your business. And here's a piece of advice. My wife watches some reality show, and she got this quote that I absolutely love, which is, know your worth and add tax. And Norman Vincent Peale said it well too. He said, if you shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. So whatever that dollar or rand amount is for you, I'd encourage you to increase it, because we're going to use that amount to then go and dial in our activities. And if we're doing a little bit more than we need to be doing, we're that much more able to succeed and hit our goals if we're doing activity levels beyond what we need. So I'd encourage you to add just a little bit more to that all so that you have that. Okay. So speaking of goals and activities, so once we understand that financial goal, now we can dial that back to the activities it'll take to achieve it, and then build our plan around that. Here we have Sisu, and if you go onto Google and just Google real estate goal to activity calculator, you'll find calculators online that will allow you to dial in your desired financial goal, and through conversion rates, walk backwards to what that means in terms of activities. With Sisu, you can kind of see here, I've entered in some of the numbers on for US based conversions. Now, if you don't know your numbers, I would ask your state broker, your province broker, to help you understand conversion numbers, what's likely there in South Africa, especially in your part of South Africa, because just because somebody says yes to an appointment doesn't mean they keep the appointment, as you well know. Just because you sign a client doesn't mean they become pending. Just because you go pending doesn't mean they go closed. So understanding those conversion rates will help you to understand what you then need out of your business. You can see with Sisu, just like with a lot of goal calculators, you'll enter in the numbers, and then it will spit out a series of conversion numbers to tell you on a monthly and yearly basis, here's what you need to achieve. The most interesting thing on this page is down here on the bottom right, where it says conversations. That is the most interesting thing on this page. When I coach agent team leaders or brokers, I don't talk to them about units. I talk to them about the activities that it takes to generate those units. And that's really where we can exert control over our business. If you don't already track your numbers, the reason why I'd asked Stephen to share that sort of homework exercise coming in today, if you're not yet tracking your numbers, I would definitely talk with your broker and ask them for what would be a reasonable conversion figures for you there in South Africa. Those of you who are tracking your numbers, use that goal activity calculator to enter in your numbers to get your activities dialed in so that you can kind of see where it is that you need to go in your business. Cool thing about Sisu is that And again, here in the States, we give this to all the agents as part of being with EXP. But unfortunately, it's not really an international tool. It doesn't convert to Rand or anything like that. But the cool thing is that if you see up at the top here, when you are looking at your screen right up here where it says 8.33%, you can change these. Real estate is not a homogeneous straight line in terms of production. I assume there in South Africa there is seasonality. Here in the States, we have the summertime market from the schools being out, and then we have the wintertime market. When it comes to seasonality and understanding your activity levels, what I'd highly suggest for you is to be very cautious when it comes to adjusting for seasonality. And here's what I mean by that. There are a lot of agents here in the States that I jokingly say start basting the Christmas ham back in September, because they buy into this idea that, well, nobody's doing business in these months. They buy into that belief. But here's the reality. Today is not December 2nd. Today is not December 2nd. Today is actually the middle of March 2025. Because of our real estate sales cycle here in the US, if I met a ready, willing, and able buyer or seller today, I wouldn't close that piece of business for another 100 days on average. Different for cash buyers. I don't know what your real estate sales cycle is, but when you think about what today is, it is not December 2nd for you and your business. It is whatever that real estate sales cycle is. And so the activities that we're doing today aren't going to show up for me until March in terms of closed business. And what's interesting is the fact that you can control that through your conversations, because those conversations, that is our lead measure. I'm a big fan of the book, 4 Disciplines of Execution, and they talk about the difference between lead and lag measures. Lag measures would be closed real estate for us. Lead measures would be conversations and appointments. Those are the things where if we're having right real estate conversations with people and we're having appointments with people, we know that that eventually is going to lead to closed business, right? Those are the lead measures. What's interesting about conversations, and one of the reasons why I had you pull your sphere of influence, I'll share with you American numbers, and these are going to be pretty close to South African numbers, I bet. In the States, the National Association of Realtors says that for every 100 people that you know that are at the age and financial ability to buy or sell a home, for every 100 people you know, 8 of them are likely to do a piece of business this year. 8 of them. Now the question is, what percent of those 8 are going to do business with you? Because remember, they have cousins who are realtors, they have friends who are real estate agents. You may not have been in touch with them recently. So what percent of those 8 are actually going to do business with you? And let's just say, for sake of argument, that 1 of those 8 would do business with you because you've kept in touch, because you've presented value, because you've been a real estate consultant for them, and they feel obliged to use you. 1 out of every 100. So then the question becomes, well, if 1 out of 100 is going to do business, and I want to do X number of units next year, how many people would I need to have in my sphere of influence for me to be able to get business, the business that I want out of that? If I were just using that as a source, how many people would I need in my sphere of influence? See, what happens in real estate for most agents is that we get really good at hunting, successful agents. We get really good at hunting. And then one day we look up and we get exhausted with the hunt. But because we haven't built our database well, we still are forced to hunt. I know so many agents who got really good at expired listings here in the States or for sale by owners and calling them and prospecting them, and they never bothered to build a database. I was talking with a Mike Ferry organization coach, one of their top coaches, and he was sharing this with me, that he had spent decades doing FSBOs and expired prospecting calls and never bothered to build his database until a couple of years ago. He'd finally start building his database with all the people that he'd worked with and met along the way. And now he doesn't make FSBO and expired calls anymore. He just works his database, which is a much warmer call, a much more fun and intimate way to do business, and a great way to actually take advantage of the hard work that you've done in your prospecting and marketing through your real estate business. So then the question becomes, how many people do you need to have in your sphere in order to accomplish those goals? If, again, 1 for 100, and you want to do 20, okay, now we need 2,000 people in our sphere if we're going to do our business out of our sphere. So once you understand that, and then the goal becomes about figuring out how to then scale. How do I get there? How do I build my lead generation systems to help me get there? So when we talk about seasonality, one of the other things I wanted to mention too is not buying into this myth, because somebody would look at this and go, wow, it's half in January what it is in June. Now, these are the daily US home sales, by the way. 9,000 a day in January versus 18,000 a day in June. Now, if you were sitting there looking at this thinking, oh, well, then why would anybody work in January? Top agents love that you think that. Top agents love that you think that, because top agents don't take their foot off the gas. See, they get their unfair share because there are fewer homes being sold in these months. Yes, that's true. But there are far fewer agents doing the work in these months. Most of them are wrapping Christmas presents way back here, right? So when it comes to the deals, whatever the seasonality, whatever the cyclicality of your market, just understand that there's still homes being sold. There's still homes being sold. And I bet in South Africa that there's a ton of agents who do buy into that training, that idea that, hey, people aren't buying homes at this time of the year, so I should just pack it in and take it easy and look to next year. So be careful dialing in seasonality. What I'd say is, in those months, whatever those lean months are in your market, there may be fewer homes being sold. That just means we need to ramp up our activity level in those months. In the months preceding that, to take into account for that seasonality. Remember that sales cycle, 100 days in the US, whatever it is in South Africa. Okay, so once we understand our goals, what's motivating us, once we understand then what that will take in terms of activity level to go achieve those goals, then the big question is, what's going to change? You see, when I coach folks and I say, okay, if you're here and you want to go here, and I say, what's going to change? And they say, well, I'm going to be more enthusiastic. I'm going to do more. Okay, well, what does that mean? And how are you going to do that? Literally, what's going to change in your business? Processes, systems. If you're big enough, are you adding people to a team? Whatever the case might be, we got to figure out what those changes are going to be so that we can go do that. Now, it's only when we make those real changes that we'll see real results. So when we go to build our plan, here are several elements that I'm going to ask you to kind of think about in order to achieve your goals. First, the wildly important goal, and we'll talk about what that means. But usually that's going to be the number of deals that you're looking to close in a given year. Right? What is that? The next is battle wigs. So if that wildly important goal is the war wig, what are the 3 or so battles that we're going to go fight in order to win the war? What are those 3 major things that we're going to change in our business in order to go succeed? Battle tactics underneath each one of those battle wigs. What then are the things that we're going to go do to achieve that battle wig that then is going to go achieve the war wig? Okay, so we're kind of lining this up like dominoes. And then what are the blockers that could prevent us from doing these things, from making these changes in our business? And what are the proactive measures that we're going to institute in our business in order to prevent those blockers from occurring? So let's break this down a little bit more for you. The wildly important goal. We're going to express this as X to Y by when. X to Y by when. And think of it like this. This is a quote from the book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution. If everything else remained the same, what is the one thing you could change that would have the greatest impact? And for most of us as real estate agents, that's going to be units. I would tell you, don't use volume. Just to make sure our terminology is the same. Volume in American terminology is units times average sales price. So if I sold 100 homes at $100,000, that's 10 million in sales volume, right? I think that's right. My math might be a little off. I haven't had my second cup of coffee yet. But I'm going to encourage you not to use volume as your goal. Why? Well, because to a certain degree, we don't control price. Now we can influence that. We can get into luxury and things like that. But in our given markets, we don't control price. The market does. What we control is units and our activity level to generate the units. So when it comes to your wildly important goal, X to Y by when, I'd encourage you to think of it in terms of from whatever units I sold last year to whatever units I need to sell this year by December 31st, 2025. Okay, 3 battle wigs. So, and again, you can have more, but I'd encourage you not to. We have an expression here in the States, let's not boil the ocean. Right? We don't want to try to take on too much. We want to make sure that we're only making the changes that we need in order to get to where we're trying to go. So the strategies here, these battle wigs must level up to the main objective, to the wig. And they have their own lead and lag measures. I'm going to encourage you as you're thinking about, okay, if my goal is to go from 10 to 20 units by the end of 2025, what are the 3 things that I need to accomplish in order to go do that? What are the 3 things I need to change in my business? Keep asking yourself, is that really a battle wig, or is that maybe a tactic underneath a battle wig? The other thing I'd encourage you to think about is, okay, if you say that one of my battle wigs is lead generation, I need to generate X number of leads in order to create those units. That's a battle wig. Okay, well, how will we know that that's been accomplished? Right? So put a number to it. I need X number of leads. And then one of the things that you'll want to make sure that you do is from time to time that you're checking in to make sure that on your scoreboard, you're on track to generate that number of leads. So have some sort of regular cadence where you say, okay, if I need 1,200 leads, I'm making this up. If I need 1,200 leads in order to achieve my goal, well, am I getting 100 leads a month or not? Whatever that number is for you, how will you know it's been accomplished, and how will you know that you're on track for it? And then another thing to think about is sometimes battle wigs need to be accomplished sooner in the year in order for you to be on track to accomplish the war wig. If part of your goal is to generate a lot of your business from Sphere, then you may need to front end load your Sphere in the first few months of the year with new contacts in order to get to the conversion rates that you need to get the business that you need out of it. So think about whenever you're thinking about a battle wig, by when does this need to be accomplished in order for me to accomplish the rest of my plan? Underneath each of those battle wigs, we have roughly 5 battle tactics. Could you have more? Yes, but again, we're not going to boil the ocean. So the tactics must level up to the battle wig. Team leaders on this call. You will have folks on your team who have pet projects that they want to do. And for them, it's fun or interesting or what have you. But the question to ask is, okay, does this actually level up to the battle wig? And does that level up to the war wig? Otherwise, it's a pet project. We may or may not do that. Depends on whether or not we actually accomplish the main goals here, right? So no pet projects. Also, teams on the call. You must have a driver for each of your tactics, and team leaders. If it's your name next to every single tactic, I would say you don't have a team. You're not. Margaret Thatcher said, if you're a leader but nobody's following you, you're just out for a walk. So team leaders on the call, make sure that your tactics have drivers and spread the love around your team. Also, if you have some sort of major new tactic that you're cooking into your plan, team leaders, have your driver create their own strategic plan for that tactic. So again, they'll create the war wig for the tactic, the battle wig for that tactic, and the tactics for those battle wigs, right? Kind of a way of breaking it down into smaller pieces. It also gives you as a team leader the comfort and knowledge that that team member who's driving that project knows exactly what to go do. By the way, since I'm talking about team leaders, I'll just share, I use this process to build strategic plans. I've used this for years and years, ever since I read the book. And as a process, what I do is I go sit in a dark room and I think about what do I think the war wig should be? What do I think the battle wig should be? What do I think the battle tactics should be? I do that just by myself. Then I go to my leaders, my people leaders, and I say, well, here's what I think, but here's the red pin. Now tell me what you think. Add, edit, delete. Where did I get it wrong? And we have that conversation. And then me and those leaders go to the rest of the team. And again, we say, here's what we think, but here's the red pin. Where did we get it wrong? What's interesting, team leaders, about why I do this. Number one, I'm not the most brilliant person on the planet. As much as I'd like to think that at times, I convince myself every day that I'm not. And so I get great ideation from my team members, things I would never have thought of. The other thing that I get out of this is their buy-in. Their buy-in, because it's not Bryan's plan, it's our plan. And literally, by the way, when we're all done with this, you'll see my team, we all sign the document. We literally sign the document, because this is what we think as a team we need to go do. So we're all agreeing this is what we're going to go do. So 5 battle tactics. Again, think through, when do these tactics need to be accomplished in order to be on track to succeed? And then also too, in project management terminology, we have this concept of RASI. RASI is responsible, accountable, supporting, consulted, and informed. Even if you're a solo agent, there will be people who interact with your business plan in one way or another. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Could be vendors, could be third parties, whatever the case might be. There will be others who your business plan impacts. The question is, do they understand your business plan? Do they understand what you're trying to accomplish? And if they have a role in that, do they understand that role and by when they need to accomplish that? Right? So think through, for each of your tactics, who's responsible, accountable, supporting, consulted, or informed. Now, when it comes to blockers and proactive measures, there's a lot of things that can go wrong in life. You're not going to be able to plan for it all. What I'll ask you to do, though, is think of the 3 most important things that could go wrong. The things that could go wrong that are going to throw your plan off track for the year. And then decide, what am I going to do proactively to make sure that that blocker does not even occur, or that it's mitigated, it's minimized. What are those blockers? What are those proactive measures? And who's going to do those and by when? So here's the document that Steve just linked in the chat. Again, you've got thought starters for solo agents, for teams, a worksheet here that will help you complete your own. All right, so here's what's interesting. Does anybody know what the number on the screen, 168 hours, represents? Very familiar with 168 hours? Yeah, Hans, that's right. It's 24 times 7. That's 1 week of our lives. What's the significance, though? Well, we all have a defined amount of time to succeed. And the question is, at a personal level, what does success look like for you in terms of time? In terms of time. You can always make more money. You cannot make more time. So I did an MBA in entrepreneurship. The MBA program that I was in was literally 100 hours a week. It was 100 hours a week. By the way, fun fact, my firstborn son was born 4 days before that program started. And it was 100 hours a week. My wife was a saint and did all the parenting for the first year of my son's life because I was in this program. And they had us do this exercise. There's a great book. I'm forgetting the author's name, but it'll come to me in a little bit. But there's a book by the name of 168 Hours. Lauren something or other is the author's name. And what's interesting is when you do this exercise, what you'll find is that you end up negotiating with yourself. So the amount of time it takes to prepare meals, the amount of time it takes to shower and sleep, and you start thinking again, when you're going through a 100-hour-a-week program and there's only 68 hours left to negotiate with, and 56 of them are spent sleeping, you start thinking things like, well, can I get away with 6 hours of sleep instead of 8 hours of sleep? And you start negotiating on the things that you shouldn't be negotiating on. Figuring out the things that are non-negotiable in your life and how much time those things are going to take, then allows you to figure out, okay, then how effective do I need to be in my working time? Now, the numbers on the right side of the screen, we're using about 24 deals here in the state. These are hours that are representative for what it takes to close buyers and sellers in the States. You'll know your figures, and if you don't, please ask your broker. They'll have some ideas for you. But what's interesting is when you plug in your goals, it's going to spit out a number. Right? If I want to do so much business, that's going to require so much of my time. And so when we think about it like this, I bet you if we went to your favorite store or your favorite restaurant, and I said, hey, here's $100. Go spend it however you want. Here's 1,000 Rand. Go spend it however you want. If we're in your favorite store or your favorite restaurant, I bet you'd know exactly what you wanted to go buy with that money. If time is the currency of our life, well, you've been living your life for decades. You're very familiar with that store. So how do you choose to spend the currency of your life? Time. Literally, how are you going to spend it? And what's interesting when you go through this exercise is a few things. First, you're going to get far more efficient with your time. When you start thinking about things like, if I sit there and stare at that phone for an hour instead of doing what I should be doing, then that's an hour I don't get to spend with my kiddos, with my friends, on the things that are important to me. Thank you, Vaughn. Laura Vanderkam. That's right. Laura Vanderkam. Thank you. He put that in the chat for you all. What's interesting about that is you'll also get much better at drawing boundaries. Here in the States, you can waste a lot of time with buyers who want to see every home that's available for sale in the market, instead of really focusing them on the ones that will meet their needs and making sure you have great scripts and dialogues around setting those boundaries in a way that's beneficial to the buyer, making sure that they understand why they don't want to go see more than X number of homes, because it's going to confuse them, because it's going to give them a false sense of what's available. You're going to also make sure that when it comes to your time spent lead generating, that you're very focused and that you get that done, and that you get that done first in the day so that you can go set yourself up for success. You're also going to become hyper aware of the activities that you shouldn't be doing, those non-dollar productive activities. And this will bring you to the idea of delegation. Now, delegation can mean a lot of different things. I know a lot of solo agents who will say, I don't want to build a team. I don't want to manage people. And I understand that very well. First off, you should never manage people. If you do, you've got the wrong people. You should lead people, manage tasks, right? But if you don't want to bring people into your business physically and have somebody on staff, that's okay. There's a lot of other options. You can go task-based. So I have a friend who was #1 agent in the entire industry in 2020. He did 500 deals by himself as the only licensed agent on his team. How did he do that? He never put a sign in the yard. He never put brochures in the box. He never put a lockbox on the door. He simply had an a la carte menu for what he would pay for each of those tasks and offered it to non-productive agents who needed some cash to get by. $25 to go hang a lockbox. So much money to go put a sign in the yard. That's an easy way for you to leverage out those activities that are not dollar productive for you. Next step will be virtual assistants. or shared services among yourself and other agents, like a transaction coordinator, shared between you and a couple of your friends who are agents. There's all manner of ways of delegating out the stuff that you don't need to be doing. All right. So brief aside, where we spend our time and where we spend our money. So I have this philosophy, and I'll share it with you. The 3 areas where to spend money in your life. Ready? The first, your bed. Spend money on your bed. The best bed you can buy, the one that's going to give you the most number of hours of continuous sleep. So you're going to spend 1/3 of your life on your bed, and it's going to dictate how you feel the other 2/3 of your life. Spend money on your bed. Second area is your work environment, whatever that means for you. Right? Could be the chair, could be your car, could be the people that you have working in your business, team leaders. Spend your money and your time on that, making sure that that's great. Because again, you're going to spend 1/3 of your life in your work environment. And then the final thing and the most important thing is your loved ones. Because hopefully you get to spend the other 1/3 of your life that you're not sleeping or working with them. And you will never waste money there because you're buying memories, period. Okay, so we've talked about getting your plan together. We've talked about your motivations and your goals. We've talked about dialing that into activities. And then we've talked about creating our business plan, about what needs to change in our business to go achieve those activities. Now let's talk about next steps. So here's what we've covered. And now let's talk about how we put this into plan. So when it comes to your business plan, even if you're a solo agent, I'm going to ask you to have somebody that you can get feedback from. That could be a trusted advisor. That could be your sponsor who brought you into EXP, or somebody else within your RevShare organization. Could be a mentor, could be a broker with EXP, or could be a coach from a third party. Have somebody take a look at your plan, draft, and give you feedback on it. Then go finalize your plan and share it with anybody who's involved. You're responsible, accountable, supported, consulted, and informed. Whoever those folks are, share that plan with them. Make sure they understand their part in it. Then I'm going to ask you to set regular personal reviews. Am I on track? These little bites of the elephant that I've lined up, am I doing those? If I need 120 leads, did I get 10 this month? Am I on track to get 10 next month? Then set a quarterly accountability review with whoever that trusted advisor is. Hey, I just want to spend 30 minutes with you, walk you through what I've done, what I haven't done, and get your opinion on that. Right? And again, that can be your broker, that can be somebody else. But have somebody that is there to help you with accountability, because otherwise, without accountability, you start lying to yourself and saying things like, oh, I'll do it next week, or next week, or next week. And pretty soon, it's December 31st, 2025, and we haven't accomplished the things that we set out to accomplish. All right, so I want to share with you another next step that's available to you all. December 10th, we have Rene Rodriguez. If you're not familiar with Rene Rodriguez, he is a best-selling author, an amazing speaker and coach on influence and leadership. He's got a program, it's called Designing Your Best Year Ever, that he's doing. It's completely free to you. It's December 10th from 11 to 1 p.m. Pacific time here in the States. That's going to be later in the evening for you all. So as you're enjoying your great glass of wine from Stellenbosch, maybe you can tune in for that as well. But he is an amazing person. At EXPCon, we had a room of several hundred people, and all of them were just bawling by the end of it, just crying their eyes out. I was not. I just had a bad allergic reaction that caused my eyes to water that day. But yeah, Renee is amazing, and I hope you join us for that. All right. So I promised to leave some time at the end for questions, comments, concerns, excitements, disbeliefs.
Margot, you go for it.
Thank you, guys. Margot here. All good. So the question was, you spoke about blockers. I've understood everything you've said except that, and I need like an actual example of something that could potentially be a blocker.
Yeah, it's a great thing. So let's say that my goal was going to exceed my personal ability, and therefore I need to bring somebody onto my team. One of the blockers is time, the time it takes to bring somebody, to find somebody worth bringing, and then bring them over to your team. So then the case might be that if I know that blocker, then maybe I need to start looking for somebody now and not wait until the new year. That might be an example of a blocker. Another one might be my own personal knowledge. So in the United States, we have this thing called expired listings. I don't know if you have them there in South Africa. I see Stephen nodding his head. So expired listings here in the United States are a very specialized way of generating business. It takes a lot of thick skin, and it takes some really good scripts and dialogues. And if you don't know those, you're not going to do well with expired listings. It also takes some very good follow-up systems because it's not going to be the first call that converts them, right? And so understanding that I need specialized knowledge, that's going to be a blocker for me if I don't go get that. And so how am I going to go do that? I'm going to go into an EXP University class on expireds. What am I going to go do? I hope that helps, Margo.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, I always get a little bit confused when you talk about strategies and goals and sub-goals and tactics. What are the differences between them? Because some are just tasks, some are tactics. So I don't know how to fit them in the right place.
Yeah, it's a great question, Hans. And I'll give Stephen this deck when we're done, so he can share with you those questions that I had along the way, because those questions will help you kind of discern between the two. The way I think of it is, if my big goal is this, when you look at that worksheet that Stephen's given you, what you're going to see is, here, just show you myself. Yeah, there we go. What you're going to see is that battle tactics for solo agents are generally speaking going to be probably one of three things, right? Lead generation and conversion, listings. Here in the States, that's most agents evolve into a listing agent over time. They're not purposeful about becoming a listing agent. And then efficiency and strategic delegation. Like, how am I going to get more efficient in my business to be able to accomplish more? And so for things like lead generation, it could mean more leads, or it could mean the kind of people that I want to work with, right? And so it could mean also bringing up our skills, like I talked about earlier. Do I need to go learn something in order to generate the kind of leads that I want to generate? Luxury, expired, commercial, whatever. And so you kind of get a sense that, okay, if I said, well, I really want to get into the luxury market, well, that's not a battle tactic that's going to get me to X to Y. That's going to dictate the type of units that I'm doing, but that's not going to dictate the amount of units I'm doing. And so those kinds of questions will help you understand, okay, well, this is really a sub-tactic versus a battle tactic, or excuse me, a battle tactic versus a battle wig. I hope that helps, Hans. George.
Hi, Bryon. Hi, team. I wanted to find out, do you have any advice on how to stay consistent on the days when you feel demotivated, or if you ever feel burnt out, or you know what I mean, like if you're just not having a great day, but you know that you need to do your lead gen today, like how do you have any advice on how to stay consistent so that you consistently do the things that you need to do every day to hit your goals?
Yeah, setting up a system of rewards and consequences for yourself. Here's in FastCap, which is the program the university just launched here in the States. By the way, we're working with Stuart and the South African team to bring it to you all soon. But here's some of the principles that we work off of, and I hope this helps you with your question, George. When you think about good habits versus bad habits, they have something in common. It's just the inverse for one another. Bad habits, let's take eating chocolate cake. Bad habits have, generally speaking, this in common: short-term pleasure, long-term consequences. Short-term pleasure, long-term consequences. It tastes good right now. I don't get, fat or have health problems from eating chocolate cake for a long, long time, right? Generally speaking. With good habits, it's the exact opposite. Good habits, generally speaking, have short-term pain, long-term pleasure. Going to the gym every day or 3 times a week, whatever you do, that's pain. That takes effort and work. And what's interesting here in the States is January 2nd, if you go to a gym, it is completely packed. You come back a week later, it is completely empty. Because people show up on January 2nd, they work out, they go home, stare in the mirror, and they go, where's all the results? So the question becomes about short-term rewards. How can you reward yourself for the behavior right now? And that is up to you. And one of the things we ask people in FastCap to do is pick your short-term reward and pick your short-term consequence as well. If I do those things, like my daily calls or whatever that might be, whatever those daily activities, what reward am I going to give myself? And is it meaningful? Can I get myself motivated from that? And what are the consequences if I don't do that? Do I get to write a check to the opposing political party? I don't know if you guys have seen in your news, we're very highly polarized here in politics in America right now. If you ask the average American to write a check to the opposing political party, that would be plenty of motivation, it seems like these days. But whatever that is for you, rewards and consequences. How do you set yourself up for success? And here's the thing, it's such a weird business because you can do everything right today and not have a closing tomorrow. Because it will take whatever that sales cycle time is for you, 100 days here, for that business to show up. So in that intervening time, that intervening 100 days, how do you motivate yourself? What rewards and consequences can you provide for yourself? And then the other big question, George, really, really important, is who else is involved in that? Who else knows what your rewards and consequences are? Who else knows what you should be doing on a day-to-day basis? Because I guarantee you, I don't know if you have children, George, but if you told your children that every day daddy needs to do X, my children, I have kids from the age of 6 to the age of 13. They would ask me, did you do X today? And they would make fun of me and ridicule me if I didn't do X today. So I don't recommend children as necessarily your accountability partners. It would be great if you had an accountability partner. If not, call your broker. Let your broker know your goals and ask them to hold you accountable to it. All right, gang, I think I've kept you 2 minutes over. I'm available on Workplace. Also, you can get me at b.ellington@exprealty.net, b.ellington@exprealty.net. Please do give me a shout. Let me know what questions I can help you with and how I can help you build your business. Other than that, I hope that that you construct the plan to get everything you want in 2025 and get after it. So from all of us here at EXP in our leadership team, we are pleased as could be to be in business with you all, and we want to help you go as big as you want to go. Thanks so much. And Stephen, thanks so much for having me.
All right, Bryon. Well, guys, please find that little heart emoji and give Bryon some love. We so appreciate your time, Bryon. Thank you so much for giving us an hour of your expertise. I will share, I'm sure Bryon will send me the slide deck from today, and I'll share that together with this planning sheet on the email afterwards with the replay. So guys, God bless you. Have a wonderful Christmas. If I don't see you personally before then, we'll see you in the new year, and let's make it the best year ever. And Bryon, thank you for your contribution towards that. See you later, guys.
My pleasure. Bye, you all.